Hi there, and thank you for joining me for today's live reading of Amy's Betrayal by Julia Goldhirsh, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. The air whipped at dusk's wings. The thrill of looking down at the world mid-flight mingled with the chilly gust of betrayal swirling in his chest. I trusted Amy, and this is what I got. Maybe you were right about enchantment mages, Kuro. The gem pouch clasp in Dusk's beak glowed. Kuro's voice echoed in his mind. While I dislike enchantment mages, I don't think Amy intended to hurt you. Dusk shook his head, his feathers ruffling. Intention doesn't matter. The fact is, she hurt me. I realize she's sorry, but I'm not ready to forgive her. I don't know if I ever will. That's within your rights. Do you still wish to go through with the plan without Amy? Yes. The enchantment mages, the council, can't keep destroying your homes, but we can't exactly walk or fly to the portal, at least not without food and probably rest. You might be able to use your magic to find someone willing to help. Dusk swooped down and perched on a tree branch. I guess we can find a place with other shifters, ones from the human realm who don't recognize me as being connected to Opal. Hopefully, there are still places like that in the human realm. Kuro purred. You can use a spell to locate large sources of shifter magic. Do you have enough energy for that? Dusk's body felt heavy. Barely. He needed food, and soon. Rats were starting to sound appetizing. The thought made his stomach turn. When Dusk transformed back and did a locator spell, it led him to an animal sanctuary. He squinted down at Kuro's gem. Is this some sort of joke? Why would shifters choose to cage themselves? A lynx's ear twitched and it crept over to the bars. A voice grated at Dusk's mind, and he let it in. Are you a shifter as well? Dusk's face flushed. Oh, right, new link. Dusk pressed a finger to his temple and focused on the lynx before him. Yes, I came here looking for a safe haven. I wasn't expecting to find you willingly in enclosures. The lynx gave an airy laugh, only because the staff members are shifters too. Give me a second and I'll let Trish know you're here. The lynx turned to Dusk again. I almost forgot. What's your name? Dusk clutched his gem bag, hoping it wasn't enough to give him away. It's Night. Nice to meet you, Night. I'll be there in a moment. I have to go in the back way so the humans don't see me change. The lynx glanced over his tattered clothes. I'll get you a fresh change of clothes, too. Dusk's shoulders relaxed. Well, at least this wasn't just regular animals. Maybe they'll have some food. As he entered the visitor center, a group of humans were being ushered outside by a blonde woman. This way to the exhibit, everyone. We're closing the visitor center for lunch. The person practically shoving them out was a woman with strawberry blonde hair and an aura of flowery perfume that tickled Dusk's nose. She stood beside a lanky black guy whose dark, piercing eyes looked into Dusk's soul. When the blonde girl had successfully corralled the humans, she looked Dusk up and down, like she was sizing him up, and then cracked half a smile. Nice to meet you, I guess. The dark-eyed man's gaze softened, and he cracked a smile and walked over to Dusk, clapping him on the shoulder. The sudden movement took Dusk off balance and making his gem bag sway. The guy stood beside him, so Dusk only made out some mumbling in the garbled words, new shifter, and a while. When the shifter looked back at Dusk, Dusk gave him a puzzled look and pointed at his hearing aid. The guy's mouth opened in an O. Then he felt something prodding his mind for an entry point. When he let the voice in, it was apologetic. Sorry, didn't see the hearing aid before. Is this preferable? His gaze took in Dusk's gem bag. An enchantment mage and a shifter. Unusual combo. Riley told us you needed help with something. What brings you here? Dusk pressed his lips together, unsure how much he should tell them. Then he thought of his family, and the lie slid through the telepathy line. I need to get to a portal so I can visit my family. The shifter side, that is. The man nodded. Sounds simple enough, but why do you need our help? Dusk turned his pockets inside out. Unfortunately, I don't have a penny to my name. I haven't eaten and just flew several miles here, and I don't think I can fly the entire way there, especially on an empty stomach. The guy nodded. Understandable. He held out his hand, finally facing Dusk so he could see the man's face. The name is Cairo, by the way. Sorry, I'm not great with introductions. He rubbed the back of his neck and pointed behind him, and the grumpy blonde one sizing you up earlier was Riley. Riley glared and tossed an eraser at him. He turned back to her and held up his hands. Dusk made out the word true. Dusk reached out to her mind and said, Sorry if it's any consolation. I don't think you're a grump. She perked up at that. Flattery will get you everywhere. I think I like you already. I can take you to the portal. You're going to the closest one, right? Dusk nodded. Yep. I hope it's not too much trouble. She waved her hand away and turned to face him. Of course not. I'll take you out to my car. She turned to Cairo and shouted, I'll take Knight to the portal, and I'm taking some sodas and snacks with us. Don't burn anything down while I'm gone. Cairo rolled his eyes. That was one time. Once was enough. Riley took Dusk's hand, her blonde hair swishing behind her, when she turned away from him and led him to the car. When they got into the tiny cobalt blue electric car, she zipped out of the parking lot and headed north toward the highway. Once they were out of view of the preserve, Riley pulled off a remote exit with nothing but woods and took them down a long pathway on a one-way road. Dusk's heart dropped into his stomach when the asphalt gave way to a dirt road. His hair stood on edge. Riley, are we taking a back way to get to the portal? I don't recognize this place. Riley stared blankly at the road, but didn't say anything to him. When she pulled the car into the woods and stopped, his back stiffened. He gave a tense laugh and joked, You taking me out to the woods to kill me or something? Riley's claws came out and she pinned his hand to the cup holder. Dusk gulped and gritted his teeth as her claws drew blood from his wrist. The fake name was a nice touch, but I'd recognize you anywhere, Dusk. Care to tell me what Opal's lapdog is doing here? Dusk's heart dropped into his stomach. You knew. That's why you were so eager to drive me. To get me alone. I never should have trusted you all so quickly. Ding, ding, ding. You're right about that, but you're avoiding my question. You have about 10 seconds to explain yourself before I lose my patience. All right, all right. Yes, I am exactly who you think I am, but I don't work for her anymore. She glared at him. Why should I believe anything you say? Because if you've been watching the Magic Realm news, you know she and the council want me dead. They're looking for me right now. Riley cocked her head to one side. And why is that, Sunshine? Dusk sucked in a breath. Because I led Amy's rebellion into the council HQ. I drew them a fucking map. Amy, you might know her as the Amethyst Killer, was my childhood friend. If you don't believe me, look up the latest council news right now. She dug her claws deeper into Dusk's hand. Fine, I will. With her free hand, she grabbed the phone and went to the council's webpage. At the very top was his face with wanted plastered below it. Her frown turned up into a small smile. All right, I believe you. She loosened her grip on his hand and retracted her claws, and Dusk let out a heavy sigh. She pointed a finger at him. But if you try anything, I'll kill you without hesitation. Got it? You're on thin ice. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. Good. Riley wiped her bloody nails on her jeans. Now that we've got that cleared up, let's get you to the portal. Chapter 2. Amy clutched the passenger door for dear life as Naru swerved the car to the right. Amy wiped her tear-stained face and threw a glare at Naru. I knew I should have driven home. Naru, be careful, or you're going to get us both killed, magic powers or not. Naru laid on the horn when a car cut in front of them. She stuck her arm out the window to flip the guy off and shouted, Watch where you're going, asshole. Car repairs ain't cheap. Naru eased up on the accelerator but still glared at the guy in the truck ahead of them. Sorry, Amy, but that kind of crap irritates me to no end. They're going to end up causing an accident. Amy placed a hand on her shoulder. Love, we're in Florida. Your temper is going to get us killed. Damn near everyone here owns a gun, and I'm not looking to get shot. Naru shrank in her seat. Sorry, I know my road rage is pretty bad, but I couldn't let you drive. You wouldn't have been able to see the road with how much you were crying. Amy sniffled and tilted her head forward, hiding her face behind a curtain of purple hair. I was hoping driving would distract me. She bit her lip and gave a small smile. But your erratic driving works almost as well. Naru rolled her eyes. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Naru placed her free hand over Amy's. It's okay to be upset. I didn't particularly like or forgive Dusk, and I'm sure the feeling was mutual, but I know you cared about him. A lump formed in Amy's throat. I didn't know Garnet would do something like that. When I found out mid-rescue, I didn't trust him not to leave us both behind, even though he'd trusted me when he'd had no reason to. I fucked up. Amy's voice cracked on the last word. Naru squeezed her hand. Beating yourself up over it won't fix anything. Dusk is hurt. Your intentions don't take away that hurt. I'm sure you're still upset about me leaving Dusk behind when Opal attacked, and that was years ago. Give him time and space to process. There's a chance he could still come around. Amy twirled a strand of hair around her finger. You're probably right. Between the war brewing and finding my mother, it's all overwhelming. I know I should give him space, but I wish I could check on him somehow and make sure he's safe. With his past and Opal after him, I'm not sure there's anywhere he could go. Do you have a spell that works, kind of like a surveillance camera? Naru asked as she turned on her blinker and eased into the far right lane so they could get off at the next exit. Amy placed her finger on the bottom of her chin. I guess I could use crystal quartz for scrying. I think I still have a crystal ball somewhere for show. Naru smiled. That's the spirit. Amy placed a hand on her gym pouch. Her bracelet still felt cold, and she couldn't hear her familiar's voice. That is, if my magic isn't gone. Amy shook her head. Think positive. It will come back. It has to. Amy stared down at her hands, willing the magic spark into them, but her familiar stayed silent, and her body felt hollow. As her shop came into view, Amy stared down at her hands. Naru shook her shoulder. Amy, we're here. You can get out now. Amy shook her head. Sorry, I guess I spaced out. Naru squeezed her shoulder. Are you okay? Amy pressed her lips together. Do you want me to be honest, or do you want a lie that won't make you worry? Naru bit her lip. I'll worry either way. Just tell me. Amy's voice came out in a whisper. I used up too much magic, and I can't feel it anymore. Naru blinked. Oh, do you think it will come back soon? Amy sunk her head into her hands. I don't know, but I need magic to do the tracking spell, and I don't know anyone else who would help me with. Actually, Amy's thoughts flickered back to the market. That's right, Alex. He might help if I can get a hold of him. Amy patted down her pockets, but came up empty. She cursed under her breath. That's right, I dropped my phone when I was captured. Amy tugged on Naru's shirt sleeve. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Naru smiled. For you, anything. What's up? Amy glanced at Naru's pocket. Did you bring your phone with you? Naru pulled out a smartphone in a neon yellow case. Of course. Naru handed Amy the phone. Do you remember their number? Amy glanced up at the ceiling of the car. No, but I think I've got it written down in the house somewhere. Naru got out and went around to Amy's side of the car to help her out. Amy raised an eyebrow. I can handle this on my own, but thanks. Amy hopped to the ground and her head spun. She smacked into Naru's shoulder. Naru snorted. It's okay to ask for help, you know. Amy buried her face in Naru's neck. Considering the two people I asked for help are not speaking to me, can you blame me? Well, you're stuck with me. Naru draped Amy's arm over her shoulder. Now let's get you inside before you fall down. Amy's gaze was drawn to Naru's arm as the muscles strained beneath the skin while Amy leaned her weight on Naru. Amy gulped and glanced up. The magic barrier surrounding Amy's home was gone, or at least she couldn't see it. I don't think I can disarm the enchantments, but they shouldn't trip for me. I guess let me check the barrier first. Just hold on to me. I think if we're touching each other, it won't go off. Sure. Naru wrapped her arm around Amy's waist, making Amy's cheeks heated. Amy cleared her throat. Right, the door. She pressed a hand to the front door. Nothing sparked. The hairs on her arms didn't raise. She fumbled with the lock, and the door clicked open and swung forward, and she stumbled over the threshold. Naru fell forward with her, toppling them both to the floor. Amy landed hands first, and Naru fell right on top of her, hands still on her waist, and her face and lips landing right near the nape of Amy's neck. Warmth built in Amy's core, and she squirmed. Naru's laugh made Amy jump. It's fine, not like we haven't been that close before. Amy huffed. Shut up. Naru scrambled to get up, moving off her. Sorry. I'd believe you if you didn't look so self-satisfied right now. Naru cleared her throat. I mean, you do look cute when you're flustered. Anyway, I guess the barrier is down or your idea worked. Now, where would you keep this enchantment mage's phone number? Amy glanced around the room and her brows drew together. I'm not sure, but maybe in my business card jar. Naru gestured at the space. And that would be where exactly? Amy pointed at the chest of drawers in her office. It's the second one from the top inside the purple piggy bank. Naru walked across the office and opened the drawer. Stacks of papers came tumbling out and Naru jumped back. You could have warned me the thing was loaded. Sorry, I've been meaning to clean it, but I kept getting busy, and then I was kidnapped. Naru scooped out some receipts and rifled through the drawer until she came up with a purple piggy bank adorned with cats. This it? Amy nodded and held out her hands. Naru tossed it to her, and Amy scrambled to grab it, but it dropped from her hands and clattered to the ground. Amy frowned. You should know by now. Throwing things to me is a bad idea. Naru held up her hands in surrender. Sorry. Amy popped the lid off the jar and ran her finger along the business cards until she came across one with silvery edges. She pulled it out and examined it. There's Alex's card. Still have to admit I love their style. Can you hand me your phone? What's the magic word? Amy groaned. Fuck you. Naru smiled. Sure, name a time and place. Naru held out the device for Amy and she yanked it from Naru. You're the worst. Naru batted her eyelashes. Yes, but you love it. Amy huffed. I guess. She punched in Alex's phone number and they answered on the second ring. Alex speaking. How can I help you? Amy cleared her throat. It's Amy. Sorry, I know this is coming from a weird number. My phone kind of went missing. He snickered. Let me guess. It fell in the toilet again. Or you forget it at the grocery store this time? Amy let out a sigh. Not quite. I got kidnapped and I kind of lost my magic. You think you could help with a quick spell? A long pause had Amy rocking on her feet. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I've got to close up shop, but then I'll be right over. Is it okay if it takes me a couple hours? That's fine. Thanks. I'll be right over. The phone beeped as Alex hung up. Amy passed the phone to Naru and crawled into her cushy office chair. Now we need to get the supplies together. Amy rubbed her temples and started pushing herself upright, but her arms gave out on her. Naru caught her by the arm and guided her to lean back. I'll get the supplies. You're in no condition to walk around yet. Amy nodded toward the chest of drawers. All the gems are there. You can pull the drawers out and bring them here. I'll sort through them. Naru yanked the stiff drawers out and hefted them over to Amy, setting them in her lap. Be careful bending over. I don't want you to get your teeth knocked out falling face first into the gems. Amy peered down into the drawer and pulled out the paper with Garnet's spell instructions. We're going to need a map. Can you run down to the store and grab one? Sure. Anything else? Amy skimmed over the paper. Doesn't look like it. I'll be right back then. Stay here. Amy rested back in the chair, the heavy drawer cementing her legs in place. Don't worry, I can't really run anywhere right now. Good. She rushed out of the door and shut it behind her. Amy grabbed a green moldavite that resembled moss more than it did a gemstone. She held it in her hand and closed her eyes, waiting for a spark of magic, but it felt cold and lifeless.